Biggie.
Yep.
You know what I've noticed?
What have you noticed?
So the past few times we've been filming, for the most part, we've been training a lot of chest workout. And we don't mean to do that. It just seems like every time we film, it seems to be chest, chest, chest up.
True.
People have been asking for us to do other body parts.
Yes.
So today we decided to do shoulders.
Yes.
Just to give you guys, you know, kind of round variety between all the body parts. And eventually we'll get to all of them, but.
Sure. Yeah. And we actually trained chest today, but we didn't film it.
That's right. Right.
So, because we just actually did chest with Damien.
You're right.
For the last show.
People really liked it, actually. So.
Yeah. So that's great. But yeah, we are doing shoulders today. We are here at the Dragon's Lair, and this is, you know, Merlin's Mind Over Muscle, full-time bodybuilding, and we're really happy to be with you guys. So. Yeah, we're gonna do shoulders today. We're gonna do primarily front and side shoulders. I may throw in a little rear delts at the end, even though we normally do that on a different day, but I wanna give you a good, well-rounded shoulder workout. So I have a couple ideas of what I wanna do today, a couple of different techniques, a couple of interesting exercises. Again, I try to give you guys things that are a little bit outside the box, things you maybe not have done before, just to give you a variety, different techniques and ways to stimulate the muscle. So we're gonna do that today. And of course, we hope you stick to the end and enjoy the show. Thank you for watching. Okay guys, so we're gonna start this off with a real killer. The basic movement we're gonna be doing is side laterals, but here is the fun part. We're gonna start off with the seated side laterals, 5 strict reps, full range of motion. After that, you put the dumbbells down, you stand up. We're gonna go with heavier dumbbells, and we're gonna do 10 partial range reps. Complete those, put the dumbbells down, sit back down with the lighter dumbbells. Again, 5 full range reps. Put those down, stand back up, grab the heavier dumbbells, and 10 partial range reps. This is a killer. We've already done a set of it. I'm already worried that I'm not gonna be able to do a second set.
So don't take too heavy.
But we're gonna do it, and it's very painful. Give this a shot if you really wanna nail those lateral delts. Now the fun starts. Okay, so now we're going to turn our attention to the anterior delts, and we're going to do a superset here on the cable. This is going to be an interesting superset because we're kind of accomplishing a couple of different things with this one. We're going to start off with a low cable incline front raise, and we're going to use just outside of shoulder width grip on these, and we're going to superset that with a low cable front raise using a rope with the rope together, and we're going to face away from the stack and pull through the legs. Now, 2 interesting things about this. The first thing is, number one, we're going to be changing grips. So we're going to be using a wider grip on the first motion, a closer grip on the second motion. So even though they're both front raises and primarily working the anterior delts, you're definitely going to be hitting slightly different muscle fibers because we're using different grips, and even with the wider grip, getting a little bit into the lateral delts as well. The second part that's interesting and effective is that on the first motion, because we're leaning back, much of the resistance is in the initial pull of the range of motion because of the strength curve. And then on the second movement, we're going to be leaning forward a little bit. so there's going to be more resistance at the top. So again, 2 different grips to hit different muscle fibers and 2 different strength curves just to hit the muscles differently. So this is a very, very interesting and effective superset. Okay guys, so like I said, normally we don't train rear delts on Thursdays. We do it with back day, which is Monday for us, but I wanted to throw in an interesting rear delt movement that you do not see very often. It's very, very different from the normal just lateral raises, but it really, really targets those rear delts. So I figured I'd show it today. So you'll see how we do it. I guess you could call it like a crouching barbell rear delt raise. And I think it's better to just watch the movement rather than for me to describe it. You definitely don't want to go too heavy in this movement, otherwise you're not going to be able to keep the proper form. So you're going to see we're going to work in the 15 to 20 rep range. And at the top of the movement, you want to hold for a little bit of squeeze. The other thing I'm going to say is that I think that this movement works even better supersetted with like a rear lateral. So if you're doing this on a day where you train rear delts, maybe do a bent rear lateral first and then this second. I think that's a really, really terrific superset if you want to bring up the rear delt. So watch how I do these. So I'm only using a 30-pound barbell. Crouch over the bar, go a little bit outside shoulder width grip, bend the knees, lean over, keeping the arms relatively straight. I'm going to just push back. I'm only coming down to right before the bar hits my calves and squeezing back with the rear delts. And as you can see, I'm holding at the top for a second. Great movement. Okay guys, so we're going to finish this workout with a press. Very often I like to finish off shoulder workouts with a pressing movement, kind of just to tie everything together. So what we're going to do is this machine press here, we're going to use, rather than an outside grip, we're going to use a close grip to target the anterior delt a little bit more strongly. And we're going to use a 4-second eccentric or a 4-second negative on each rep, which of course eccentric reps are one of the absolute best ways to damage and tear down muscle tissue, which of course has to be repaired, which means muscle growth. So again, a great way to finish the workout. And I just want to add that everything you've seen today is definitely Merlin approved. Come on. Good. Yep. Good negative.
Well, I'm Merlin. You're on.
I'm on. What am I doing?
Good workout today.
So the workout, the shoulder workout, we probably only did about maybe like 10 working sets actually.
Yeah.
Which is basically all we do per body part, 8 to 10 working sets, and that doesn't count our warm-ups.
Right.
Of course, but we don't do very, very extensive warm-ups because, we don't tend to use tremendously heavy weights, especially because of all the techniques that I use.
Plus it's hot in Vegas.
It's hot in Vegas. So so the workout was mostly front and side delts. We did a little bit of rear delts at the end, which I wanted to show you guys too, that rear delt movement, because I think it's pretty interesting and different.
That quarantine move.
We call that the quarantine move actually, because back when the whole COVID thing was happening, we were on quarantine. I was just training at home with just like a small barbell and a couple of dumbbells, but we were still filming, and so we didn't have much to film with. So I was trying to do some shows on things that you could do at home, really, really easy. So that was one of the movements that I brought out. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is, it's become everybody who saw it was like, "Oh my God, that's so awesome! I'm going to try it." And they put it in their workouts. So, so like I said, this workout these workouts are not, necessarily what we do all the time. We're always changing things, or necessarily for the guys out there who, more the beginners, intermediates. I mean, I want to make sure that people understand that, the foundation of our training from when we were younger was more, more towards, basic movements and heavy lifting, a lot of barbells and dumbbells, free weights, less machines and things like that. And that's the way everybody should start out. Always trying to, progressively get stronger with good form. I never agree with anybody who uses, poor form to get their reps. So even when I was young, I always used proper form, full range of motion. But more basic lifting is important in the beginning. So a lot of these things that I'm showing you are things that you can incorporate every once in a while just to change things up. And also for more advanced guys who have been training for a very long time, their muscles and their central nervous system has pretty much adapted to everything. They're not really growing anymore, they're stagnating. And these are ways of just kind of just using different intensity techniques, hitting the muscles differently, getting to different muscle fibers by using different angles and ranges of motions. As you can see, I was doing things with different grips, different strength curves and things like that. So all these things come into play when you're looking to progress past a certain point if you stagnated. And also for guys who are very, very serious bodybuilders who need maximum development on stage. Every single muscle needs to be in bold relief and showing. So a lot of these movements will, tend to bring out areas that maybe you're not hitting. I call it filling in holes on the physique that may be missing. So, that's what I think you should take away from these workouts.
Why do you, because I'm sure people will be asking, why do you actually split front and side delt from rear delt, and why do we do rear delt on back day with the traps and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the way we do our split is not something that is set in stone that I'm saying everybody needs to do this split, and if you don't, you're wrong. We've changed the split, you and I, many times over the years, depending on maybe body parts that we might want to focus more on, things that are lagging, so maybe we change it up so that maybe we're hitting certain body parts with a full workout and then maybe a small workout later in the week. Or maybe focusing on certain areas that we do like the day after a day off so we have more energy, things like that. But to your question, I feel that the rear delts come into play so much in back movements that I think it's kind of a natural progression to just finish off with rear delts, because you think about doing, anything with a wide grip, pull downs, bent rows, seated cable rows, especially, they're really going to strongly hit the rear delts. So I think that you might as well finish off a back workout with some rear delts. And we also throw traps in there because, again, because some people like to do traps with shoulders, which is fine. If that's your preference and that's what you feel, it's fine. But I also feel that with a lot of back movements, the traps come into play as well. So I feel like doing a back trap rear delt workout works really well for us. And then just, of course, finishing off on chest day. After chest, obviously, the deltoids are very, very warm. which I like to have my shoulders to be very warm and full of blood when I do them. So again, if you're going to use pressing movements and things like that for the shoulders, they're already warmed up well from chest. And then of course we throw in the side delts as well. So that's what we do. Like I said, it's not set in stone, but it could be something you might want to try. But it makes a lot of sense. So that's why I've been doing it that way.
Someone asked me a while ago a question about, my workout, and they were like, he was asking me, when you work out, do you actually change the workout every single day, every single week? And I said, yeah, it's never the same workout. Eric used to send me, before we even trained together, used to send me a workout every single day, and I never knew what it was going to be and stuff. And I kind of like it because it's like a surprise, it's kind of like you never know what's going to hit you, and so every day I was excited to go to the gym and not knowing what was going to happen. And he was telling me, he said, well, how are you supposed to he was telling me, he says, I don't do that. I pretty much do the same routine for at least a few weeks in a row before I change something. And the reason why he was doing that is because he wanted to kind of see if he could make progression in his lift and, take heavier and everything. And I was like, we don't do that. We change every week. And what do you think is the best thing? What do you think? Do you think he's got validity in what he's saying, or?
Yeah, I think it depends on how long you've been lifting. I think that when the closer you are to a beginner, the more you need to stay with a routine for a period of time and try to progress in weights or reps. And I think that's important to do when you're a beginner. And then I think that it is actually, biological fact, physiological fact, that the longer you've been lifting, the quicker your body will adapt to any routine that you're on. So if you've been lifting, there's a big difference between having somebody who's lifted for a year straight, 5 years straight, 10 years straight, or people like us who've been lifting for 25 years, more than that even. So our bodies have become pretty much like adaptation machines. Like anything that we do, we're going to adapt to right away. So I feel that it's important for us to constantly change the routine, constantly give a different stimulus to the muscle, and I think that's the way we're going to progress. But if you're somebody who has not been lifting as long, then I think that maybe doing different workouts every single time could be a mistake. It could work against you. So if you're somebody who's an intermediate lifter, and I'll say intermediates are probably in that 3 to 10 year range for a lot of people, you can stick with a routine for a longer period of time.
What would you say? So let's say someone wrote down all the workouts you did for all body parts. Because it's funny because when you weren't here, when you were in Vegas, I wasn't training with you, obviously.
Right.
But I didn't want to ask you for any workout, so I saved all the emails you sent me.
Sure.
And every time I would train something, I would just pull today's chest, pull something for chest, and I would do that, and I would just keep changing like that, But so if someone actually put a routine together with all your workout, how long? And they're intermediate. How long would you say you tell them to do that? Like 3 weeks, 4 weeks? What would you say?
I think the body will adapt after about 6 weeks. So I think that you could do a program for 6 weeks and try to progress in that program. I don't. The thing is, I've gotten to the point in my lifting career where I don't base things anymore on the weight that I'm lifting or the amount of reps that I'm doing. So I don't go into the gym and say, oh, I bench pressed 225 for 10, so now I want to get 12.
People write their stuff in their journal.
Right, and I used to too when I was younger. I used to be very focused on that. Now to me, lifting has become a different thing. It's how much intensity, and when I use the word intensity, I'm not using it in terms of weights lifted, I'm using it in terms of, how hard I'm lifting, how much effort I'm putting in, what I'm doing to the muscle. I'm always trying to just reach a certain level of intensity in every workout, and I try to do it different ways. So we use different techniques. It could be supersets, it could be drop sets, it could be timer detention sets, it could be all the different things that I use. And that's what I base my lifting on now. And I think that people become a little, because I know a lot of people, I've seen it in gyms when I used to if I work out in a gym for many, many years straight and I'll see people working out, I'll watch them and I'll see, oh, okay, so they were benching 225, use that as an example. And then I see them a year later and they're benching 275, but they don't look any different. So they got stronger, but they didn't get bigger. So how much, it doesn't always necessarily translate. So I think that you have to also think about, hitting the muscle in different ways, using intensity techniques, and putting in more physical and mental effort than just weightlifted. But I think, again, I want to qualify this and say if you're somebody who, you're new to the gym or you're an intermediate lifter, I think it's a very, very smart, valid thing to do, to write your workouts down and try to stick with certain lifts and get stronger in the lift, or have a pool of exercises that you kind of stick to that you're trying to get stronger in, or use the same weight for more reps. And I think you're going to progress that way for a while, but then I think there comes a time where you have to look at it this way. You eventually going to reach a point where you can't get any stronger, because if we could, all of us would be eventually lifting buildings over our head. That doesn't happen. So eventually we reach a point where either injuries start coming into play, our joints integrity is gone, so we can't lift any heavier, or you're just not going to get any stronger. So you have to look for other ways to
make it harder,
force the muscle to work harder and adapt and grow. So that's kind of the point where we're at now. And that's why I said these workouts aren't necessarily for everybody. They may be something that you might want to throw in now and again if you're training just to break things up, or try to lift your intensity a little bit. Unless you're an advanced lifter, then go for it. Hit these workouts all the time.
I think it's good for people to have just more options. Even if they learn one new things or one new movement that they incorporate in their routine they didn't know before, it's a plus, So eventually you just accumulate knowledge over the years, and it's
exactly.
all good.
And I showed a bunch of different techniques for shoulders today. So maybe you just say, hey, I want to do my presses the way you guys did presses. I just want to do 4-second negatives, and the rest of your routine is normal. Or hey, I just want to try that superset, and the rest of your routine is normal.
That's right.
So like you said, just pick and choose little pieces in there and throw them into your workouts. And I think that's what you can get out of seeing us do these types of workouts and different methods.
Awesome. All right, thanks, Biggie. Please subscribe, you guys, and share the video. This weekend we're actually going to start our recipe nutrition special, so stay tuned for that, because we're going to have something yummy. I can't wait to see what it is. I have no clue.
Well, I am personally involved with the person who will be cooking, showing this recipe, and I can tell you she's got some interesting things to show, so hopefully
we can't wait to show it to you guys. All right, thank you.
Thank you.